No check there.
I have 2 o'clock if, are you ready, Sonia? Are you ready, Ed?
Want to go?
I have 2 o'clock on my clock. I think this is slow, so.
Okay, the meeting will please come to order. This is a duly advertised meeting of the Joliet Zoning Board of Appeals. In our capacity, we hear petitions for relief from the strict provisions of our city ordinance. In matters of this type, the decision of this board is final. In respect, it does not go to the mayor or the city council for any further action. If you disagree with our decision, you do have recourse in a court of record. We also hear petitions for variations of land use. In matters of this type, we act as an advisory committee to the mayor and the city council, making a recommendation either for or against it. The final decision on land use is made by the mayor and the city council. Secretary, call the roll.
Ms. Stafford?
Here.
Mr. Alessio?
Here.
Mr. McShane? Mr. Nectry?
Here.
Mr. Riggs?
Here.
Ms. Rohr?
Here.
Mr. Hennessy?
Here.
First order of business would be approval of minutes from the September 15th meeting.
Motion would be in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have motion and second to approve the minutes. Call the roll.
Mr. Nectry?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Ms. Stafford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
I abstain.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
Next order of business is citizens to be heard on agenda items. If there's anybody in attendance that would like to speak on agenda items, you can speak now, but here we also allow you to speak when the case is called. Is there anybody that would like to speak on an agenda item at this time? Seeing none, we can move on to old business, public hearing. Petition 2022 47. The petitioner is Emerald Coast LLC. The property owner is GW 2211 Jefferson Joliet LLC. Location is 2211 West Jefferson Street. This is for a variation. The petitioner has requested that this be tabled again to November. They're still trying to get some things in order on their overall development, and this refers to signage. So unless those other items get straightened out, there's no reason to, go forward with the signage request.
Motion to table would be in order.
Motion to table.
Second. Pull the board.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Ms. Stafford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. Nectry?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
Number is 2022-53. The applicant owner is Carolina Francini. Location is 223 North Broadway Street. The request is a variation. The applicant is requesting a variation to reduce the south side yard setback from 5 feet to 2.85 feet. A variation to reduce the east front yard setback from 25 feet to 19.65 feet to allow construction of a 2-story front addition. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes the final decision on this request. Under site-specific information, subject property is approximately 4,904 square feet in size. The 2-story building was built around 1900 as a single-family residence. At some point prior to 1950, the building was converted into a 2-unit. Building has approximately 2,030 square feet of living space. 1939 zoning map identifies the property as having R3 multifamily zoning. The 1965 zoning map shows the property with B1 neighborhood business district zoning, which has remained as the property zoning there. There is a detached 3-bay brick garage with access directly from Western Avenue. The applicant's family has owned the property since the late 1980s. Under surrounding zoning, land use, and character, to the north is B1 neighborhood business with multifamily residential use. To the south is R2 single-family residential with multifamily residential use. To the east is B1 neighborhood business with mixed-use building. To the west is B1 neighborhood business, and that's a convenience store. Under applicable regulations, section 47-11.2A, B1 neighborhood business district special uses. Under section 47-19.8, criteria for granting a variation, you can refer to the attachment. Under discussion, the applicant seeks to erect a two-story addition at the southeast corner of the front elevation of the two-unit building to create a larger bedroom on each level. The existing house sits 2.85 feet from south property line and 19.65 feet from the east property line. And for this reason, does not comply with the 5-foot side yard and 25-foot front yard setback requirements for the R2A single-family residential zoning district. Zoning ordinance allows pre-existing nonconformities to remain as long as the structures are not enlarged or altered in a way that increases their nonconformity. Therefore, the applicant must obtain a variance because the structure's pre-existing nonconformities will be increased by the construction of the southeast front addition. Floor plans and building elevations for the proposed project are included in the staff report packet. Division of Neighborhood Services placed the property in the rental inspection program in December 2021 because of the exterior condition of the property that included inoperable vehicles and a defective electric service. Two-unit was then vacated and is currently vacant. Neighborhood Services and Planning staff completed a re-inspection of the property on September 7th, 2022. The two-unit was found to be gutted. The property owner is aware that building plans will need to be submitted and building permits issued in order for this property to continue as a two-unit. Initial planned improvements include a new roof, removal of the front deck, replacing the front door with a window, and repairs to the side and rear decks. Property owner intends to apply for building permits once a decision on the variance request for the front addition has been made. As a two-unit, the property will continue to be enrolled in the city's rental inspection program. Upon completion of the building remodeling and site improvement work, Neighborhood Services intends to re-inspect the property on October 26, 2022. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve the variation request, the following conditions should be included. 1, that a landscaping plan and site improvement plan shall be submitted and approved prior to the certificate of inspection being issued. 2, that a sidewalk leading from Broadway Street to the north entrance and beyond to the garage shall be repaired and installed where missing prior to the certificate of inspection being issued. 3, that the driveway shall be paved prior to a certificate of inspection being issued. 4, that off-street parking spaces for a minimum of 3 vehicles shall remain in the future. 5, that the property shall meet the city's water meter and valve requirements, which may require a separate water service, external shutoff valve, and meter for each unit prior to the certificate of inspection being issued. 6, that all building and property maintenance code deficiencies shall be corrected prior to a certificate of inspection being issued for the two-unit. 7, that use of the property shall not be expanded in the future. And 8, that the property shall be enrolled in and comply with the city's rental inspection program, and that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner present. I must swear you in. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present to be the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Name and address, please.
Carolina Francini, 223 North Broadway, Joliet, Illinois,
Thank you.
60443.
Any comments you'd like to make?
Basically that we're doing our best. We do have a game plan. It does start from the outside in. We did go ahead and gut the inside to get the ball rolling, but as we came across issue after issue, we decided that, the first thing we need to do is get the roof redone, so that any interior work that we do does stay protected. And while we're at it, we're gonna replace the siding. So that's why I kind of wanted to see if we were able to expand to do that addition on the outside, so that if we're doing the roof, we might as well do the whole roof the right way one time. If we're gonna do the siding, let's do all the siding all at once, one time, and then go from there. So that's why I brought it to the table to see if we'd be able to get approval for this. If not, then we need to make other plans and other arrangements for the inside. But I do think that it would bring a lot of value. That's not the prettiest of neighborhoods, and I do intend for it to be a really nice, addition to the neighborhood, maybe bring a lot more curb appeal to the neighborhood. So that's the goal.
Okay, do you have any problems with the conditions that were stated?
No, not at all. They're pretty much common sense to me, and already I was planning on doing all of those things, so
Okay, so you intend to comply with all those conditions?
100%.
Any questions by the board? Anybody in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anyone opposed? Chair closes petition to the floor and asks the board for discussion and a motion.
I move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Please poll the board.
Mr. Hennessy, should we just, note that Mr. McShane is now present? So I guess, is he able to vote, Mr. McShane, since he arrived late? Yes?
He's okay to
He's
vote.
Okay. Okay. So I'm sorry, who made the motion? Did
I
anyone
did.
make a motion? Mr. McShane. Anyone second? She seconded. Ms. Second. All right. Ms. Safford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. Noctree?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
I just came in, I didn't hear any of it,
Do you want to abstain?
yes. Sorry.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
So that will, that approval is final, so this does not go to city council, so that vote for approval on the variations is final.
So we're good to go?
Yes,
Good.
make sure you get your building permits or whatever
Yeah,
else
for
you
sure.
need, just follow up with your planner if you need to.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Moving on to new business, public hearing. Petition number 2022-58, petitioner is Olympic Sign. They're the sign contractor. The property owner is Fairborn Properties. Location is 2724 Plainfield Road. Request is a variation. Under purpose, the petitioner, who is a sign contractor acting on behalf of the retail business, is requesting a variation to increase the total sign area from 130.5 square feet to 227 square feet for the Room Place Furniture Store at 2724 Plainfield Road. Zoning Board of Appeals makes the final decision for this variance request. Under site-specific information, the store in question now occupies 3 tenant spaces in the Lewis Joliet Point Shopping Center, having recently started leasing the easternmost space tenant space. The Room Place Furniture Store has been in the shopping center for over 10 years. The shopping center is zoned B2 Central Business District. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character, the store is in the middle of the Lewis Joliet Point Shopping Center, which is a multi-tenant shopping center. The tenant space is surrounded by B2 Central Business District zone property on the east, west, and south sides, and B3 General Business District property on the north side. Applicable regulations, 4717.21 signs, 4717.213BB, and that's criteria for granting a sign variation, and you could refer to your attachment there. Under discussion, the Room Place seeks to add 2 signs to its front facade, flanking its main wall sign. The first is a 39 square foot sign that would state mattress, and the second is a 37.5 square foot sign that would state furniture. The store is in the process of removing the temporary banner signs on the east and northeast sides of the facade. Should the Zoning Board of Appeals approve these 2 sign requests, the total sign area for this tenant space, including the 20 square foot panel on the existing multi-tenant ground sign, would be 227 square feet, which is well below what would be allowed for a B3 General Business District tenant space with comparable store frontage. Properties with B3 General Business District zoning are allowed a total sign area of up to 200% of their linear storefront. The Room Place occupies 220 linear feet of store frontage. Sign elevations and sign site plan are attached to the staff report. Under conditions, we have none, and that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner here? I swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, sir.
Your name and address.
Billy Piter with Olympic Signs, 1130 North Garfield Street, Lombard, Illinois.
Anything you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions by the board? Nobody. Okay, anybody in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Chair closes the petition to the floor and asks the board for discussion and a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have motion second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Ms. Sanford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Noctry?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Yeah, with all the economic problems we're having these days, I'm glad to see a business that is doing well, especially in the mall when we're losing tenants all the time. Wish you guys well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
So that vote for approval is final as well, no city council action on that. Under petition number 2022-59, applicant owner is Mayra Sandoval. Location is 971 Collins Street. The request is a special use permit. Under purpose, the applicant is requesting a special use permit to allow a banquet hall, a B3 general business zoning district use, and an I2 general industrial zoning district. B3 general business district uses may be allowed through the issuance of a special use permit when authorized by 2/3 majority vote of the city council. City council makes a final decision on the special use permit request. Under site-specific information, the property is located at the west side of Collins Street, just north of Francis Street. The .58 acre lot was originally part of the U.S. Steel Mills complex. It was parceled off prior to 1972 when the current 1,800 square foot office building was constructed. It was last occupied by the New Century Federal Credit Union. Building has been vacant for around 10 years. Current owners purchased the property in April of this year. Former U.S. Steel Administration Building, which is a local historic landmark and contributing property in the Joliet Steelworks National Register Historic District, is directly south of the subject property. Joliet Steelworks National Register Historic District runs along the south and east border of the subject property. Under surrounding zoning, land use, and character, to the north is B3 General Business, Azteca de Oro Banquet Hall. To the south is I2 General Industrial, and this is former U.S. Steel Administration Building. To the east is B3 General Business, multifamily residential buildings are there. To the west is I2 General Industrial, former U.S. Steel Mill Complex. Under applicable regulations, section 47-14.3, prohibited uses, section 47-5.2C, special use permit criteria. Under discussion, the applicant, who is the new owner of this property, seeks a special use permit to convert the former credit union office building to a banquet hall for small events and gatherings. The attached concept plan shows 8 tables with 8 chairs, 64 people seated, a bar area with a sink and 2 bathrooms. Facility does not include a kitchen. All food will be brought in. The redevelopment of the property will include substantial improvements, including a new asphalt parking lot with curb and gutter, a new sidewalk that runs along the front and north sides of the building, installation of an aluminum wrought iron style fence along rear and side perimeters of the lot, and landscaping per the city's landscaping requirements. Property owner will be required to replace any deteriorated portions of the public sidewalk along Collins Street. There will be off-street parking for approximately 24 vehicles, which exceeds the city's requirement for a banquet hall of this size. Zoning ordinance requires 1 off-street parking space for each 5 seats at a banquet hall. Should the city approve this special use permit request, new property owner will submit remodeling plans to the building division to initiate the redevelopment process. The owner also intends to apply for a Class B liquor license through the mayor's office. Staff has included issuance of this Class B liquor license as a prerequisite for a certificate of occupancy being granted, as well as business being allowed to open. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to recommend approval of the special use request, the following conditions would be included. 1, that all property improvements shall be completed prior to the business opening, and these will include The reestablishment of an asphalt parking lot according to city requirements, and this includes curb and gutter. B, the installation of a service walk along the east and north sides of the building. C, the installation of landscaping per an approved landscape plan. D, the installation of a decorative wrought iron style fence along the north, south, and west perimeter of the lot. 2, that the deteriorated portions of public sidewalk along Collins Street shall be replaced. 3, that a liquor license shall be issued prior to the business opening. 4 are special use criteria for opening within 180 days. 5, should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. And that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner? Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Your name and address.
Myra Sandoval, 23965 Bay to Bay Boulevard, Manhattan, Illinois.
Any comments?
None other than we plan on making the building aesthetically as pleasing, which we absolutely believe will add value to the surrounding businesses. Other than that, no.
Have you been in this business before, or?
It would be my first time.
Okay. Any questions by the board? Once again, anybody in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Chair closes the petition and asks the board for discussion and a motion.
Move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. Alessio?
Even though it doesn't meet all the parking requirements, I think it's a good area, and the area probably could sustain some off-street parking. I approve. Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Noctree?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Ms. Safford?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this will go to City Council November 21st, 22nd with the recommendation for approval. Next petition numbers, 2022-60 and 2022-61. The applicant is New Presh Desai. The status of the applicant, he is the owner. The owner is also Elijah Desai. Location is 356 North Scott Street. Under request is a special use permit and a variation of use. Under purpose, the petitioner is requesting a special use permit to allow automotive maintenance and repair in an existing gas station with an accessory car wash and car detail center located at 356 North Scott Street. Petitioner has also submitted a corresponding variation of use petition to allow a B3 general business district use for this automotive maintenance and repair in a B2 central business district zone. Per the zoning ordinance, Section 47-13.2A, special uses, general business zoning district, automobile repair may be allowed as special uses by the mayor and city council with the advice of the zoning board of appeals in accordance with Section 47-5.2. Under site-specific information, the .53 acre subject property has been the site of a gas station since at least the early 1960s. Main building on the property is over 10,000 square feet in size. Currently contains a convenience store which will be remodeled in the near future. The building also contains an existing car wash with ample room for the proposed automotive maintenance and repair use that is being requested in the subject special use permit. Due to the size of the main building, it is likely that the maintenance and repair uses may have been conducted inside of the building in the past. The attached concept plan shows how each use could function within the building. The existing gas station features 6 fuel pumps, an air vacuum station, and several pre-existing parking spaces. Under surrounding zoning, land use, and character, to the north is B3, a car wash. To the south is B2 parking lot. To the east is B3 railroad. To the west is B2 parking lot. Under applicable regulations, Section 47-13.2AN, special uses general business districts. Section 47-5.2C, criteria for issuance of a special use permit. You can see the attached petition. For Section 47-17.28, variation of use. Section 47-19.8, criteria for granting a variation, and you could refer to the attachment. Under discussion, the approval of the requested special use permit and variation of use petition would allow automotive maintenance and repair at an existing gas station with an accessory car wash and car detail center, and this is all located at 356 North Scott Street. According to the subject petition, future maintenance and repair uses would include high gut mechanical work, tune-up service, oil change service, brake work, tire change and repair, and detailing and window tinting services. Staff generally finds that the petitioner has established with clear and convincing evidence that the criteria outlined in Section 47-5.2C of the City Code covers the conditions that must be present for a special use permit to be issued will be met with the proposed use and site plan. Property contains a large building that has been used previously for small quantities of maintenance and repair work, in addition to the ongoing gas station use. Petitioner has informed staff that there will only be 2 service lifts in the building and has demonstrated that up to 3 vehicles can be parked inside of the building while waiting for service. No vehicles awaiting service will be allowed to idle outside of the building. Furthermore, the anticipated lower volume of traffic created by the proposed maintenance and repair use, which would be no more than 5 vehicles at any one time, is not anticipated to create an abundance of traffic, conflicts with the existing car wash, traffic, or to traffic conditions within the general vicinity of the subject property. The building and general site layout predates the current B2 Central Business District zoning designation, as the site has remained largely unchanged since the current zoning designation was put into place. A unique circumstance exists that would justify the proposed maintenance and repair B3 special use in a B2 zone. Similarly, since the building and site have been in place for several decades, staff anticipates few negative impacts that would alter the essential character of the general area. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve the special use permit, the following conditions would be included. 1, that the number of vehicles that could be serviced for maintenance, repair, or detailing work be no greater than 5 vehicles at any time. 2, all vehicles that are to be serviced for maintenance, repair, or detailing work be parked inside the subject property's main building. 3, all necessary repairs done to the main building, including the existing convenience store, meet all applicable national, state, and local building codes. 4, any additional equipment or supplies that may be needed to perform maintenance and repair services will be stored inside of the main building at all times. And 5, should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. And that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner here? You swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law.
Yes.
Name and address.
Nrupesh Desai, 356 North Scott Street, Joliet, Illinois, 60432.
Any comments you'd like to make?
Not too much comment. This building was used by City of Joliet as a maintenance department for the cars, where we are planning to do some detailing work and oil change. Then the building and their maintenance department, city moved it to the across the street. So this was the same place where we are proposing these things to this request. And since we have the car wash, we are expecting like 10, 12 cars a day to do this kind of work, and they will not be there more than 2 hours. They will be in and out. It helps me on my bottom line since we are facing the competition from the Thornton gas station further down. So hope this will be improvement and this extra service will help us to stay in the business for the long period of time.
Any comments by the board?
I should note for the record too, that handouts were provided that the petitioner gave to us today that, notes how many car washes have been taking place over the last 12 months, and that he plans on capturing 20% of those car wash users for oil change, light mechanic work, tune-ups, and detailing work.
So like we are washing almost average 60 cars a day. So out of 60 cars, if 20% customers, we convert to this business. So maybe 12, 13, 15 cars the most. That's what we want to service and in and out before we close the day.
So you're putting in new equipment in the car wash portion?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And how many employees do you have or would you expect to have when this is fully operational?
Two and a half or three
Okay.
in the mechanic shop area. With the detailings, maybe another one full-time and one part-time. So answering your question with the detailing 1.5 and the mechanic is 3, so between 4 to 5 employees, full and part-time all included. Which this corner like almost 2,000 square feet and it's not generating anything for me. But since we look our numbers for the gas station, since Thornton open, our numbers are getting down and down, and of course some economical issue and with the COVID. So we want to develop this place within this building to generate some additional revenue. So it help us to help on the bottom line.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments? Is there anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? I swear you
Good
in,
afternoon.
sir.
Yes.
Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
I do. Tom
Yeah.
Osterberger, 111 North Ottawa Street.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment, as a property owner in downtown Joliet, Mr. Desai has, I've done a little bit of work for him in the past. I helped him acquire car wash equipment. He's removed some operators here, tenants that were bad. He's rebranded the gas station. As you know, this is right near the county building. So, you know, generally, we're not overly worried about people's profits, but as for Joliet and as a property owner downtown, I'd like to see the gas station succeed. I think he's doing everything to help. And I don't see the criteria for staff imposed. I mean, these cars are gonna be inside. Nobody's gonna hear them or see them. And if it helps him prosper there and keeps that location good, there's no other gas station in downtown proper. So I would, I'd be in favor of it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is anyone opposed? Chair closes petition. Ask the board for discussion and a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Will we be voting separately? Is this for 2022-60 only?
Okay.
You could do them together too if you wanted to.
Together.
Together?
Okay.
Okay.
So we have a motion for both petition 2022-60 and 61.
Okay. Ms. Safford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Noctre?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
So those two cases will go to city council with recommendation for approval on November 21st and 22nd. It is? I was looking at, sorry about that. She's right. So 14th and 15th for those meetings in November. Thanks. Moving on to petition number 2022-62. The applicant is Ketone Acquisitions LLC. The status of the applicant is owner, and the location is 3350 Shanahan Road. Request is a special use permit. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to allow a trucking facility that includes long-term cargo container and chassis storage and stacking not to exceed 5 units high, located at 3350 Shanahan Road, Lot 5 in Ketone Business Center subdivision. For the City of Joliet zoning ordinance, truck facilities may be allowed as special uses by the mayor and city council with the advice of the zoning board of appeals in accordance with section 47-5.2. For the City of Joliet zoning ordinance, the outdoor storage of cargo containers, semi-trailers, or similar items may be allowed as special use in an I-2 district by the mayor and city council with the advice of the zoning board of appeals in accordance with section 47-5.2. Site-specific information, the 27.2 acre site is Lot 5 of the Ketone Business Center subdivision, Unit 3. Property is zoned I-2 General Industrial and is currently undeveloped. In October of 2020, City Council approved a special use permit to allow a truck parking and maintenance facility or a truck terminal for the original Lot 5. In June 2020, the zoning board approved a variation to allow additional tractor-trailer parking on the original Lot 5, which allowed an additional 774 spaces that could be used as overflow parking for existing tenants in the industrial park. The original 72-acre Lot 5 was subsequently split into 3 lots when the Ketone Business Center subdivision preliminary plat was revised and final recording plats were approved for Unit 3 in January 2021. This subdivision created the current 27-acre Lot 5 that is the subject of this request, Lot 8, which is used for existing barge operations, and Lot 9, which is mostly wetlands and floodplain. Under surrounding zoning, land use, and character, the site is surrounded by other lots within the Ketone Business Center subdivision, which is located between Route 6 and the Des Plaines River at Humboldt Road. Zoning and land use for the adjacent properties are as follows. To the north is I-2 General Industrial Warehouse. To the south is I-2 General Industrial Barge Operation. To the east is I-2 General Industrial Humboldt Road Extension. To the west is I-2 General Industrial Wetlands / undeveloped. Under applicable regulations, section 47-14.2AD, special uses, all industrial districts, section 47-14.10.5, outdoor manufacturing and storage, all industrial districts, and section 47-5.2C, criteria for issuance of a special use permit, and you could refer to the attachment. Under discussion, the petitioner Ketone Acquisitions LLC is requesting approval of a special use permit to allow a trucking facility, long-term storage and stacking of cargo containers and chassis. Stacking would be limited to no more than 5 units high. The petitioner states that there is a market demand for this type of trucking facility that includes outdoor storage and stacking. There is no known user at this time. Conceptual plan for the site includes a 45,600 square foot building, 119 passenger vehicle parking stalls, and 496 trailer stalls that could be used for container stacking. Building will be used for truck maintenance and includes a wash bay. Access to the site is from the existing drive off of Shanahan Road, which also serves Lot 1 and Lot 2 of the Ketone subdivision. Paving and landscaping will be required per the city's subdivision regulations and zoning ordinance. Payment in lieu of taxes for the truck parking facilities will be required as per the terms of the approved ordinance. Funds collected from the pilot will be used for adjacent city street maintenance, the approved variation for overflow trailer parking, and the previously approved special use permit, which allowed a truck terminal or a truck parking and maintenance facility, remain in effect and could also be used at this location. If the special use permit request is approved, only one of these uses will be permitted on the subject site. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve the special use permit, the following conditions would be included. 1, that the stacking of cargo containers or similar items shall not exceed 5 units high. 2, that the truck and trailer parking areas shall be required to make a payment in lieu of taxes as per the terms of the ordinance. 3, that a landscape plan that meets city ordinance shall be submitted as part of the building permit plan set. And 4, should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. That concludes our staff report.
Petitioner here.
Good evening, Tom Osterberger, 111 North Ottawa Street, attorney for the petitioner. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing
You've
but
been
the truth.
sworn, go ahead.
Also here is Jennifer Wagner from Ketone. Jim's report is spot on. Just to put a little more background, Ketone Acquisitions originally purchased and developed that whole section, donated the future right-of-way extension for the bridge, and proceeded to develop that as an industrial park with Joliet, understanding the bridge was going to come in, keeping that industrial clustered together as close to that, and now luckily we'll have an improved, at some point, roadway onto Route 80. This was approved for a terminal, so that the use is consistent with that terminal use. So we're not putting stacking or asking for chassis to be stacked somewhere where they're not already trucks and industrial use. The most important thing about this request is that, as you see, the sight lines from Route 6, you absolutely won't be able to see the containers because they'll be completely screened by that building, which is rare, both height and laterally from east and west. The only place you'll be able to see it is from the bridge extension, and there we have industrial trucks going over to for the use in the intermodal. The applicant still owns a lot remaining in the subdivision, so obviously it's very concerned about, you know, the use and how it's kept. Joliet's ordinances are very good. I don't think that this, if anything, I think it may decrease the traffic from the existing use, but most importantly, you're not going to see it. You're right there on the bridge. The trucks come, go right there, and, you know, the general public like us won't see it going down Route 6. So we ask for your approval.
Thank you. Any questions by the board?
How many containers do you expect to stack there total?
So right now, the building was being ordered, and the truck terminal building will be there. There is not a user, and so what we're finding is when we're trying to get tenants or purchasers, that they all have some stacking requirements. As you know, we've been here for Swift and other places that need either on chassis or off chassis. The only place I see off chassis stacking is in Shanahan. Maybe there's some in Joliet. So we're not exactly sure, but we do know that volume-wise in traffic, it'll be no different than what we have right now. So whether it's completely filled or partially as an adjunct use to that terminal, I don't think we'll see a change in traffic, and visually we won't see it. I wish I had an answer because it's easier to make those decisions for you guys, but we're finding from our tenants that they're asking for that use.
All of the other warehouses in Joliet are asking for that use also. So what's gonna stop us from having them at every warehouse if we start approving this even at one location?
No, understood, but the special use for the terminal is consistent with the storage and stacking use, whereas a warehouse, we need trucks to be there for their business, but stacking of containers tends to be a different spot. If it's solely dedicated, I understand that, but not in conjunction with the warehouse. This isn't a warehouse, this is the maintenance facility. And in terms of location, you know, it doesn't get much more appropriate.
With the number of spots that you're talking 5 high, you're talking over 1,000 containers.
That could be possible, yes. But again, I don't know that you're gonna find a location where they're literally screened, and this one is. Accidentally, of course, but it is. And that's, you know, usually that is the main concern, other than the city's safety concern on how these are operated. Ketone's been here, they work with the city. I don't think the operation is gonna be at issue, it's being designed properly. But I mean, in terms of finding a place to have the containers that they're closest to the intermodals and that we as the public can't see it, I don't know that it gets much better, Commissioner Riggs. And we have to the south, the quarry, which eventually will be a barge location for use in conjunction with this. And as you know, we have limited spots along the river for that.
Any other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Chair closes the petition to the floor and asks the board for discussion and a motion.
Motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to deny the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. Lucio?
No.
Mr. McShane?
No.
Mr. Noctre,
No?
Mr. Riggs,
Aye.
Ms. Rohr,
No.
Ms. Safford,
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy.
Aye.
That motion failed, right? 4-3?
It was 4-3, 4 noes and 3 yeses.
When it fails, can somebody else make a motion? Someone
Motion.
else can make a motion since it failed.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Pull the board.
Mr. McShane,
Aye.
Mr. Noctre,
Aye.
Mr. Riggs,
No.
Ms. Rohr,
Aye.
Ms. Safford,
No.
Mr. Alessio.
I think, as I see my role on this board is to make sure that, things are of the highest and best use, things that conform within the existing city code. I think although everybody's concerned about the amount of trucks on our roads and the traffic they create and the damage they create on our roads, as I see it in my role, I see that this is a conforming project, and, I can't imagine what other sort of project or development would go in this specific, piece of property, and so for that reason, I approve.
Mr. Hennessy.
Aye.
Aye.
So that will go to city council with a 5-2 recommendation for approval at the November 14th, 15th meeting. 2022-63, this one is gonna sound very much like the last one, but it is a different location. The applicant is Chai Acquisitions. The LP, care of Centerpoint Terminal Company LLC. Status of the applicant is a contract purchaser. The location is 3850 South Youngs Road. Request is a special use permit. Petitioner is requesting a special use permit to allow a trucking facility that includes long-term cargo container and chassis storage and stacking not to exceed 5 high and trailer parking located at 3850 South Youngs Road. Per the City of Joliet zoning ordinance, truck facilities may be allowed as special uses by the mayor and city council with the advice of the zoning board of appeals in accordance with section 47-5.2. Per the City of Joliet zoning ordinance, the outdoor storage of cargo containers, semi-trailers, or similar items may be allowed as special use in an I-2 district by the mayor and city council with the advice of the zoning board of appeals in accordance with section 47-5.2. Site-specific information. The 71.06 acre subject property is vacant, zoned I-2 general industrial, and currently slopes downward from west to east to the Des Plaines River. In June of 2022, the city council approved a special use permit to allow a 2 high flow through truck terminal facilities on the subject property. A variation to allow 2 main buildings on one parcel was also approved by the zoning board of appeals in May of 2022. Petitioner for the subject petition is currently applying for a permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to meet the Corps' wetland mitigation requirements. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character, the existing industrial uses can be found to the north and south of the subject property, with additional trucking and warehousing uses west of Youngs Road. To the north is County I-3 Industrial, to the south is I-2 Industrial, to the east is I-3 Des Plaines River Industrial, to the west is I-2 and County I-3 Industrial. Applicable regulations, section 47-14.2AD, special uses all industrial districts. Section 47-14.105, outdoor manufacturing and storage, all industrial districts. Section 47-5.2C, criteria for issuance of a special use permit, and you could refer to the attachment. Under discussion, the subject petition contains 2 potential options for future development of the site. Option 1 would consist of an approximately 30,000 square foot maintenance building on the northern lot with trailer parking areas and storage areas with the ability to stack containers 5 high, The southern lot would contain a trucking terminal facility with trailer parking areas and storage areas to stack containers 5 high. Option 2 would consist of an approximately 2,000 square foot building with trailer parking areas and storage areas with the ability to stack containers 5 high. Like option 1, the southern lot would have a trucking terminal facility. Both options would be allowed pending additional staff review of building permits with the requested special use permit. Furthermore, if 2 lots are created on the subject property will be required a future subdivision. Paving and landscaping will be required per the city's subdivision regulations and zoning ordinance. A payment in lieu of taxes for truck parking facilities will be required as per the terms of the approved ordinance. Funds collected for the pilot, which is the payment in lieu of taxes, will be used for adjacent city street maintenance. Previously approved special use permit to allow the 2 high-flow truck terminal facilities and variation to allow 2 main buildings on 1 lot remain in effect could be used at this location as well. However, if the subject special use permit is approved, only one of these uses will be permitted on the subject site. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve the special use permit to allow a trucking facility that includes long-term cargo container and chassis storage and stacking not to exceed 5 high and trailer parking located at 3850 South Youngs Road, the following conditions would be required. 1, that the stacking of cargo containers or similar items shall not exceed 5 units high. 2, that the truck and trailer parking area shall be required to make a payment in lieu of taxes as per the terms of the ordinance. That a landscape plan that meets city ordinance shall be submitted as part of the building permit plan set. Should the property be declared a public nuisance, that shall be subject to a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. 5, submission of an approval letter for the conditional letter of map revision from FEMA. 6, submission of an approval letter for the required core permit for off-site wetland mitigation. 7, city staff approval of the following: engineering plans, stormwater management plan, and a traffic study. And that concludes our staff report.
Petitioner here.
Good afternoon.
You both going to speak?
We are.
Do you both swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under a penalty of law?
I do.
Names and addresses.
Matt Cruz, Crow Holdings Industrial, 318 North Carpenter Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60607.
Into the mic, please.
Jason Sobalski, Jacob and Hafner Associates, 1442 Joshua Court, Geneva, Illinois.
Thank you. Any comments you'd like to make?
So I appreciate you hearing kind of what the market's asking for with the last request from Ketone Partners. We just recently finished up a truck terminal right across the street from Hollywood Casino for NFI. That building is operational now as of last month. There's a real need for this type of facility, even more so now within the last 5 years with the exponential rise in e-commerce. And I think the thing that you're hearing, especially from Mr. Osterberger and Kyle Schumacher with Ketone Partners, is highest and best use. These facilities need to go somewhere, and what we're seeing, our site in particular has shallow bedrock. It's cost prohibitive to actually build a 900,000 foot warehouse there. There's already $8 million worth of blasting of the dolomite just to enable truck parking and a truck terminal. We worked with staff to say, hey, let's not pave the whole thing. We proposed 2 buildings, 2 truck terminals. That was approved in June. We recognize the pilot doesn't fully make up for the tax revenue that would come in based on 2 buildings if we just said, let's just do 2 parking lots. But one valuable thing that we've seen over the last year is just how many tenants and users are out there that need this type of facility. So we've responded to, and I suspect Ketone has as well, to several requests for proposals, everything from chassis storage to flat out trailer fleet management storage, where one of the users has 8 trucks in and out each day. For a parking lot that holds 600 trailers, you would suspect a little bit more than that. But the reality is these guys are overflow fleet management type operations. We're asking for the 5 high storage here. You've got the line of sight diagram on the screen now. So recall, you've got refinery operations south and north along the river here. You've got a barge tenant operating on the river currently. And this site sits roughly 35 feet low from Young's Road and then runs off, 25 more feet? So you can see it here, the top of the fifth container is right about your door height if you're driving on Young's Road, and that's not even considering the foliage that's out there right now. So we've worked with staff to present a landscape plan. We're gonna maintain as much of that foliage because it serves as protecting the erosion on the existing grade. So it's gonna be hard to see. To Mr. Osterberger's point, we've got a second facility, it's fully screened. So you've got a need for this type of facility, and now you've got two that can be fully screened from public view, and you're quick in and out to the intermodal, and that's the shuffle that generally is gonna happen. You know, remember here, this site's effectively in Shanahan. Most users will go through that business park, get on at, oh gosh, I'm having a brain fart, Arsenal Road to access the intermodal and just make that cycle back and forth. Anything further?
No, I'll just add, yeah, just to Matt's point, you know, we're sitting very low compared to Young's Road here. We have heavy screening right now currently against Young's Road, and we'll restore it as much as we possibly can with the trees that are dead out there now. We've been working with city staff on that, but other than that, perfect.
And this would be speculative in nature too, with, Mr. Torrey mentioned this has been an Army Corps process. We're in month 13 right now. We expect it to wrap up here maybe in 2 to 3 months. So we'd be aiming to break ground here in the spring. Again, it's rock blasting. So ideally we would have had our permit now and started the blasting all winter. That didn't happen. So it's gonna look like April. So happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Chair closes the petition, asks the board for discussion and a motion.
Move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. Noctry?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
No.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Ms. Safford?
No.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
No.
So this was approved 4-3 recommendation, and will go to the city council November 14th and 15th for final action.
Thank you.
Moving on to petition number 2022-64. The applicant is Eastgate Logistics Park Chicago LLC. Status of the applicant, they are the developer. The owner is New Wave Farms LLC. Location is 101 Compass Boulevard. Request is a variation. Under purpose, the petitioner is requesting a variation to allow truck parking on the short end west side of the structure and double deep stacking on the north side of the structure with perpendicular or angular parking to both axes of the structure. And again, this is located at 101 Compass Boulevard. Site-specific information, the subject property is approximately 103 acres and is zoned I-1 light industrial. Upon future development, the site will contain a large 1,729,800 square foot building, which will be used as a warehousing and trucking facility. Platting of the subject property for the proposed use was approved earlier this year. Under surrounding zoning, land use and character, to the north is I-1, undeveloped farmland. To the east is I-1, undeveloped farmland. To the south is county R2A and R3, single-family residential. To the west is I-1, undeveloped farmland. Under applicable regulations, section 47-19.8, criteria for granting a variation, you can refer to the attachment. And section 47-17.17, off-street parking regulations. Under discussion, the proposed site plan includes stalls for truck parking on the north, south, and west sides of the warehouse building. Double deep truck parking can be found on both the north and west sides of the building, with angular parking shown to the south of the building. According to section 47-17.17 of the city's zoning ordinance, all parking areas intended for use by semi-trailers, wheeled containers, or tractor-trailer combinations that are not located immediately adjacent to the structure to which the parking is accessory shall be located across from the two longest sides of the structure. In addition, the parking spaces shall be perpendicular to the longitudinal axis of the structure and shall be arrayed in a single row. Double stacking shall be prohibited. City staff has reviewed the proposed site plan and determined that the proposed truck-trailer parking arrangement, which includes double stacking of parking to the north and west, in addition to the angular parking to the south of the warehouse building, will not result in any increased traffic conflicts or complications with turning movements. Finding of facts needed to support the requested variation is outlined in section 4719.8 of the city code, establishes a practical difficulty that warrants the requested variation. Due to site constraints with required detention basins to the north and south of the warehouse building, the amount of space dedicated to truck trailer parking is limited along the longer sides of the building. The proposed truck trailer parking layout, which condenses trailer spaces in a double stacked manner to the north and west of the building, maximizes the spaces that is available to park the anticipated volume of 518 trailer stalls. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve the requested variation, the following conditions would be included. One, should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to a rehearing and a possible revocation of the special use permit. And, just lastly, when we refer to stacking, in this case, it is not on top of each other, it's adjacent to each other. So I just want to make that clear that this is not like the last two where they're doing any stacking on top of each other. These are adjacent to each other. So with that, that includes our staff report.
Petitioner here.
Good afternoon.
You swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under a penalty of law.
I do.
Name and address.
Tom George, 3310 Highland Parkway, Downers Grove, Illinois. I'm with North Point Development.
All right, any comments?
That is an important point. These trailers are all on wheels. There's no offloading of any containers here. This is specific for a specific tenant who has a business presence in the city now and is known throughout the country to be a good employer. And we're very excited about customizing this facility. This was a spec building that was already underway. The walls are already up. We will be expanding this building approximately 225,000 square feet specifically for them. And then just customizing how the trucks and trailers move on the site to make sure that it's a very organized, orderly operation. We did also add additional employee parking for them specifically. So we're very excited about this facility. Any questions at all?
Questions, comments?
This south border is against a residential area. What's the distance between your operation and any housing that's down there?
So there's actually a building to the south of this building. There's another industrial building.
I see.
That we're doing south of here. So that building's probably 1,200 feet in total, building and truck and just stores. So this building is actually to the north.
Any other comments by the board? Anybody in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone opposed?
Opposed. I'd like to speak.
Come on
You
forward.
can come up.
I'll swear you in. Do you swear the
Yes.
evidence you're about to present to be the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Name and address.
Just saying, what
Need
we
your name
looked
and
at, we're
address.
probably talking a minimum 4,000, 5,000 extra.
Could I have your name and
Oh, I'm
address?
sorry. Rico Campanolo, I'm at 24815 South Walnut Street in Elwood, Illinois.
Thank you.
What I think we've looked at already is adding at least 4,000 or 5,000 extra trucks. We've looked at the other two sites, and if you bring this picture back up on the screen, the satellite picture, you can see that that's in between two neighborhoods. And I particularly are very concerned about those trucks out there running, and it's not very pleasant to look at. Also, there is really no infrastructure, how these are gonna get in and out of this project. There's I think there's like 3 buildings going up, over 3 million square feet. I don't know how many vehicles are gonna be coming in and out of who knows where. So where are the plans of infrastructure before we go ahead and just keep adding trucking facility after trucking facility? Where do they stop? Do they take that neighborhood out too? You know, I don't see any real good way of looking at how everything's gonna get in and out of there. So that's my concern. And also that I'm just south of that project, and it's appalling. It's awful to look at aesthetically.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Do you care to rebut?
As far as the infrastructure, those plans have all been approved. The subdivision is completed. The city staff has reviewed, all the infrastructure for the entire park. This is one building of the eventual, entire park. All that's been taken care of, so. And we have been very sensitive, of course, to the neighbors north and south, providing a conservation area to the north, where this building's located, and then berming and screening to the south. So always welcome to hear their concerns. We have gotten very good feedback from actually our immediately adjacent neighbors saying that they find the berm to be very attractive. So that was great to hear. But any other questions, responses you need from me?
Well, how is it on this exact property? How do they leave the property? Where do they go?
So if you remember from, and I apologize, we only came in front of you once several years ago, but a road is being constructed north of this building, and you see it on the plan there. That road will then connect to a bridge on the east side that will go over Route 53. If you remember, this is the closed loop truck network where no trucks will use Route 53.
This building's a part of that as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So yeah, the bridge is to the east. You see the road stops there. That's where you will then begin the embankment to go up on the bridge to go over 53. And then to the west, the bridge, another bridge will be built to go over the Union Pacific Railroad tracks. So yeah, this is part of the closed loop truck network. The neighbors, all the roads in the neighborhood have been terminated so that no access will be provided for cars or trucks through the neighborhood. And we've already gotten very good feedback on that from the neighbors who are glad to see the traffic go away.
And you did say that the trucks that might be running late at night would be blocked by the other buildings, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and we do work with our users. If we ever get any complaints, we do talk with the user to make sure, hey, you've got a two-sided building. Make sure if there's any problem that you're using the non-residential side at nighttime for sure. And again, this is a very responsible company that will be occupying the building, as are all of ours. But this one in particular is currently a business resident here in a large building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
I just have one more comment.
You had the floor once. I'll allow you to make a shortcut.
What I'm gonna say is, when we look at that bridge going over, that's going over Route 53. If you're heading south on 53, just past these buildings are Knoll Road, and that is already dangerous because there's not a turn lane, and you'll have multiple semis behind you, and you really, you gotta look, and if you can't make that turn because they're stacked up, you just gotta go straight. So my concern is, once that viaduct goes in, that is gonna screen any kind of traffic, and there is no turn lane after that viaduct. If anything, there would have to be a turn lane after that viaduct on the south side of Route 53. No doubt about it. Otherwise, it's just gonna be a tragedy waiting to happen.
Okay.
All right?
See it?
Thank you.
Would you care to rebut that statement, sir? Since I allowed him to have a second appearance.
Certainly no rebuttal. That's an IDOT purview, right? That's a Route 53 issue. So IDOT will certainly evaluate every element of that once the bridge hasn't even been submitted. Actually, it's getting ready to be submitted right now to IDOT. They've previewed it, but the real submittal starts now, and they will then take into account everything to do with those types of issues. Line of sight is always very critical when it comes to a state route.
Okay, thank you. Chair closes the petition to the floor and asks the board now for discussion and a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Ms. Sanford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Noctre?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye.
So that was approved 7-0, and that does not go to city council, so that is final action on that case. Under old new business on the agenda, not for final action or recommendation, we have none. Under public comments, this section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding non-agenda items. They're in allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we can adjourn if you choose.
Motion to adjourn would be in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Pull the board.
Ms. Sanford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McShane?
Aye.
Mr. Noctre?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Hennessy?
Aye. Motion adjourned. I've been wanting to do that for 40